Podcasts anytime.
Spring brings brighter days and more time to enjoy them. Your home should too. At Hickory Point Garden Homes in Forsyth, enjoy one-story living and walking paths right outside your door. Spend less time on upkeep and more time enjoying spring. Learn more by clicking our icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
You're listening to the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and the weather is getting a little bit warmer. Maybe you're looking to grow some plants or trees or shrubs, and if you're noticing anything unusual about them, it might have something to do with iron chlorosis. So it's important to choose the right plant for the right tree. And here to talk about that and much more is Andrew Holsinger, a horticulture expert with the University of Illinois Extension. Andrew, thanks for coming in this morning.
Hey, always glad to be here.
Yeah, and it's good to have you in person, which had not worked out the last couple times, but we have you in person now, which is awesome. So first, let's just kind of start with the beginning. What is iron chlorosis, and what should folks know about that?
Well, iron chlorosis, you'll probably see a yellowing of your leaves. And so that's a condition where the iron is not able to be uptaken by the plant, whether it be a tree or a shrub. And so you see those symptoms and you think to yourself, well, something's not right. This color doesn't look right for what it should be. And so looking at that, it's the chlorophyll is the part of the plant that you see the green. Well, the iron that is usually uptaken into the plant, that lack of iron is affected into that chlorophyll. So the reason for that is your pH is too high. The alkalinity of the soil can be elevated. And so it's important to investigate those things before you're planting your trees. So we're coming upon Arbor Day and Earth Day and a lot of tree planting activities, but it's important to maybe take a look at a soil test and see where your pH is at before you get your trees planted, or look at what the optimal pH for that particular tree is, because trees vary in their conditions to where some are more susceptible to iron chlorosis than others.
Okay, so you're talking about the iron. Where does it kind of come from, or where is it supposed to come from?
Well, the iron's in the soil, and usually the levels of the iron are adequate in the soil. We have plenty of iron in the soil. The problem lies in that the pH is too high, and so it's not able to be uptaken by the plant. So if you lower the pH, that iron becomes available to the plant, and then it's able to be processed throughout the plant. But there are some short-term remedies. So foliar sprays of iron can help to alleviate some of those symptoms and make your leaves greener. But it's not something that you really need to add iron to the soil to, because the iron's already there. It's more of an adjustment of the pH or providing iron to the plant on the short term to help make it look a little nicer.
Okay, yeah. So that's something that can happen. Why is it so common for this sort of thing to happen in gardens and landscapes in that sort of place?
Well, part of it is usually whenever people are looking at their trees, they're in their landscape in their yard, and with the construction of homes, not all the time is the soil put back the way that it originated. So there may be some subsoil that is brought to the surface instead of we have rich topsoil, but not all the time is it put back into place where it should be. And so some of that alkalinity is brought to the surface of the soil, and the root system of a lot of our trees, especially like pin oaks, are really susceptible to iron chlorosis. That few inches of soil makes a big difference whenever you have that alkalinity in the soil, because those roots are only going to go so deep. So it's important to see what your soil type is, see if you've had some of this subsurface soil brought to the surface in construction, and try to mitigate with, adjusting the soil pH prior to planting trees, but we can make adjustments afterwards as well.
And there's been a lot of construction like in Taylorville, in Christian County for, homes or businesses or whatever. Are you folks hearing about like an increase in this sort of instance where, these things are happening where, there's construction and then the soil's not put back where it's supposed to be? Is that sort of coming up?
It's been a kind of a common practice that has occurred, and we get calls to the office of, well, I've looked it up and it looks like iron chlorosis, but I don't know what to do. And so there are publications. I shared a publication with you from Purdue on iron chlorosis and its effect on trees and shrubs. It has some good illustrations of a graphic of how the pH is limited on both ends of the spectrum. Whenever you have too high of pH, your nutrients are limited. If you have too low of pH, so really the sweet spot between the pH range is between 6 and 7, and that's where most plants do well, whether it be your trees or shrubs, or a lot of people are putting in vegetable gardens. So thinking about where your pH is and knowing that can help you whenever you're gardening in many different aptitudes.
And I want to brief our listeners. What Andrew Holsinger is referring to is a study done by, which is why I said Purdue University's extension by a couple of authors there. It's called Iron Chlorosis of Trees and Shrubs. It's in the Plant Pathology in the Landscape series, and he's referring to a graphic on the third page of it, at least page in terms of how it got printed out for me, where it displays a bunch of nutrients and sort of where they all are, or in terms like the pH levels where they are thrive best and don't. So and this says pH between 6 and 7 is kind of the ideal one for most of them. Does that sound right?
The most nutrients are able to be uptaken by the plant in that range of pH.
All right. So yeah, that again, according to a study by some folks at Purdue University. Nice that you folks are kind of setting aside the Big Ten rivalry to talk a little bit about iron chlorosis. You mentioned a couple of trees that are more prone to iron chlorosis than others. Anything else you want to highlight in that area?
Yeah, there's quite a few trees that are common to the landscape, like pin oak can be, maple trees, white pine. So there's quite a few of our more prevalent trees in the area that are susceptible. So it's important to keep a lookout for your soil pH and know what trees. There's plenty of options for trees out there. We have a lot of native trees that could be planted. Some may be more adaptable to our soil pH being more alkaline. So there's listings available of what trees are at what pH levels. So good reference points to make whenever you're investigating. We have a lot of resources for what trees are planted in the best locations. And so that's something to think about. You always want to avoid your utilities with the power lines, or make sure you call Julie before planting the tree so you get those utilities marked.
Okay. So a lot of tips there. So you talked about like construction being a major cause of this with the way the soil is arranged and then rearranged. What about weather? Does that cause this sort of thing to happen?
It can, if you have excess rainfall, that can factor into the way the nutrients are uptaken and the dynamic of the soil pH. So weather is a plentiful factor. It also factors into pruning as we come into this spring weather. We also have some hiccups of some cold. There was like a few snow flurries the other day, and it was like, well, still snow in the forecast. So some of those surprise things can have a surprise to the plants. You have some new growth growing, and then it gets nipped back by a frost or a freeze. So whenever you do pruning, it's going to stimulate new growth, and you want to be aware of that as it factors in with the weather affecting plants.
So a lot of things affecting the potential for iron chlorosis as shared by Andrew Holsinger, a horticulture educator with the University of Illinois Extension. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk a little more about what folks can do to prevent this from happening to their plants and making sure they can thrive well into the season. That'll be coming up after this break right here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station.
WTIM.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn steady, beans higher, wheat trading higher. May corn down 1/4, 447. July corn down 1/4, 457 3/4. And December new crop 476.5, up half a penny. May beans 11.66, up 4. July beans up 4.11, November new crop 11.55 3/4, up 3 3/4. May Chicago wheat 5.82, up 1 3/4. May KC wheat up 3 1/4, 5.98.5. May bean meal 315.80, up $1.70. May bean oil up 88 cents, 68.30. Livestock trade April feeders down 82 cents, 369.85. April live cattle down half a dollar, 248.50. And April lean hogs 90.32, up 12 cents. Energy market June Brent crude oil up 380, 98.58. RFD Radio Network.
If you're 40 and over, you'll recognize these artists by their first names. Frank, Dean, Sammy, Andy, Nat, Diana, Michael. Well, here's the big news. You can now hear Central Illinois' largest music library with over 3,500 songs on air and online at 965thechill.com. Tune in on the FM dial in Christian County and on your computer or smartphone. Hear these great artists and many more 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 965thechill.com. Finding a local job in Central Illinois has never been easier. Don't waste time driving far or spending too much on gas. Visit IllinoisJobPost.com. It's your one-stop site to find local, full-time, and part-time job openings. Best of all, it's completely free for job seekers to access anytime, day or night. So if you're ready to land a job close to home, make IllinoisJobPost.com your first stop. That's IllinoisJobPost.com. Brought to you by your friends at the regional radio stations.
Double your impact with sight and sound. Reach customers through our 6 regional radio stations. Plus, capture their attention with our 36 by 72-inch digital billboard right on Route 29 in Taylorville. That's nearly 11,000 drivers seeing your message every single day while they're already listening to your radio ads. Ready to maximize your reach? Call your regional radio account manager today and put your business in front of eyes and ears across Central Illinois. Regional radio is where your message gets noticed.
I'm Regional Radio Multimedia Specialist Brittany Reynolds. If you want to reach local farmers and when decisions matter most, WTIM, your ag information station, connects your message directly to their ears when they're in the field, in the tractor, or planning their next season. Our over 9 hours a day of ag programming and 2 hours every Saturday deliver your message to the agricultural decision makers who depend on radio every day. WTIM, AM, FM, and online deliver results that digital simply can't match. Visit IllinoisFarmRadio.com to learn more.
WTIM.
And we're back on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and I continue my conversation with Andrew Holsinger, a horticulture educator at the University of Illinois Extension. And we've been talking all things iron chlorosis and something that can happen to plants, trees, shrubs, all of that. And I want to get into now, what can we do to maybe prevent this? What is the most important things homeowners can do to prevent iron chlorosis from happening?
Well, sometimes it's not able to be prevented. Maybe you have a site that is already alkaline. You don't want to put the expense into adjusting the soil. So putting the right plant in the right place and knowing what your pH is and the drainage, a simple soil test can save you, years of frustration. One of the trees that I've seen a lot is the river birch has a big problem with iron chlorosis. So you look at the river birch and you think about where it grows at, usually near water. So it can be adaptable in the landscape, but you have that moisture. So then you can look at plants that grow near water as maybe adapted to the more alkaline soil type. So bald cypress is a tree that can be available for more alkaline soil. So I have a list here: arborvitae, ginkgo, elms, northern red oak. So if you had a pin oak that is succumbing to iron chlorosis, well, maybe think about northern red oak as a replacement. We have shrubs that are conditioned for more alkaline soils. So your viburnums, your American smoke tree. So looking at what the conditions are, whenever I had my landscape design class, we would go and do a site analysis, and you'd go and look and see what the conditions were, what the height was for the tree, the how much it's going to spread, soil types, drainage, sunlight. There's many factors to think about whenever you're planting plants. So put those into consideration whenever you're examining, do a site analysis, see what plants are going to work best in those locations for your landscape.
Okay, so some tips there. You've talked a little bit about soil testing. How can folks get involved in that? Where do they send the soil? How do they arrange it? All of that.
Well, the soil test is pretty easy. They have some local laboratories that you can send in a sample. We have a soil informational website that gives you, there's a video there that shows kind of the simple process of sampling your soil, taking a representative sample, mixing it together. You put it in a small bag. You be sure to label it with your name and location, send that off, and then they'll have the results and send you a copy of the results. It's important also to have an idea of what you're asking for whenever you send in your soil sample. So the farmers, they're looking for the best results for their crop, but you're looking for, if it's planting trees, well, you want to adjust your soil to that. If you're planting a lawn, well, you only need about the top 4 inches. So the depth of your soil sampling can vary, but depending on the plant. But you get that results from the laboratory, then you can put them to work in determining what plants you're going to be planting and what adjustments need to be made.
Okay, so some tips there. You talked about planting depth. Any other sort of practical planting tips for folks to kind of do at home while they're there?
Sure. A lot of times when trees or shrubs are planted, especially trees, they get planted too deep, and it's kind of by accident. Like the soil settles, and then it's like, oh, well, I'm seeing problems 20 years later with my tree. I wonder what happened. Well, the tree got planted too deeply. You need to look at where the root begins to flare and have that root flare above the soil line, because what we end up, if a tree's planted too deeply, it looks similar to a telephone pole. There's no flare at the bottom. So sometimes it can be you go to the nursery and you're purchasing a tree, the depth of the soil will be, you need to do some excavating to get that layer of soil off to find out where the root flare is, because it can be deceptive. And then even taking the tree or shrub out of the container, look for circling roots that are not an ideal situation. You can do a lot of examination of a tree or shrub before you even bring it home or make that purchase.
All right, so a lot of steps that can be taken there. Andrew, we're coming in on 1 minute left. What's your kind of key takeaway for homeowners in dealing with iron chlorosis?
Get that soil test done, find out what your soil pH is, and then adjust accordingly if you want to go that route. Or if it's too severe, you could contact an arborist, and there are some injections that could be done to kind of get it in a good, healthy, presentable coloring in your landscape.
Okay, so a couple things you can do there very quickly. Master Gardener plant sale, I understand, is coming up. What are the details about that?
Yeah, we have Christian County Master Gardener plant sale is going to be at our local office here, 1120 North Webster Street. That's going to be on May 2nd. We also have our Montgomery Master Gardener hanging basket sale is going to be on May 1st. And we have the Macoupin Master Gardener plant sale with a variety of plants on Saturday, May 23rd.
Awesome. Andrew Holsinger, sorry, I got to cut you off there. We're just about out of time. Thanks for coming in this morning.
All right, good.
And thank you for listening to the WTIM Morning Show. Have a good day.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville. 96.1 FM Taylorville. 107.5 FM Shelbyville. 107.9